Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. I think we'll get started with the meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. We need to adopt the agenda. I have a recommendation that the agenda for the November 3rd, 2025 regular meeting of council be accepted and passed. I get a mover and a seconder. Councillor Rankin, Councillor Cave, thanks. All those in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and anything on today's agenda. Councillor McCabe?
I have none.
I have none. Councillor Rankin?
Yes, I have 4A, an indirect interest with grants for hospital auxiliary. I'm a member.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Burke?
Yes, I have an indirect pecuniary interest with 2B, 2D, and 2E. Either appendices attached to the reports have been prepared by my employer, or to get to the point that they're at now, work has been prepared.
Councillor Hearn?
No.
Right, thank you. So we'll go to a closed session, and we have a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North go into a meeting at 1:01 p.m. that is closed to the public under subsection 239 number 2 of the Municipal Act 2001, specifically to deal with item B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Item D, labor relations or employee negotiation. Item F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. I get a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Burke, Councillor Rankin, thank you. All those in favor? It's carried. We're in closed.
So let me just pause the record.
Okay, I have a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North rise from a closed meeting session at 2:02 p.m. Moved by Councillor Cave, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favor? Carried. The recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive verbal reports from David Nelligan, Aird Burles, planning matter legal update, and the council approved the confidential direction to staff. Move on to second for that, Councillor Burke and Councillor Hearn, thank you. All those in favor? It's carried. And the next recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report C&ED 2025-37, 2026 Senior of the Year and Ontario Service Award, and the council approved the confidential direction to staff. I'm going to move in a second for that one. Councillor Rankin and Councillor McCabe, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. And next recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report CAO 2025-11, 226 Main Street South, Mount Forest update, and the council approved the confidential direction to staff. Moved by Councillor Hearn, seconded by Councillor Burke. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And next recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report CAO 2025-12, 2025 staffing update, and 2026 non-union employee and council remuneration, and that council approved the confidential direction to staff. Moved by Dave, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favor? Carried. And finally, we have a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North approve the closed meeting minutes of September 8th, 2025 and September 22nd, 2025 council meetings. Councillor Burke, seconded by Councillor Hearn. All those in favor? Carried. So that's rapid fire approvals. Past 2 o'clock, so I guess we're right into our regular session. Start with Old Canada. Ready.
We have.
Sorry.
In person.
Speak of the devil.
You're next, yeah.
Sit down.
Oh, yeah.
Highlights.
Whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much for having me today. So this is just the 2025 Annual Emergency Management Program Report, and how the township has met all the requirements under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act and Ontario Regulation 380-04 for 2025. And so I'll just hit some of the highlights. The program committee, it's a requirement to have one of those, and we met on March 3rd to go over the program, the hazard identification risk assessment, emergency response plan, training needs, pros, exercise, and public education. The emergency response plan that was adopted through council in the fall of 2020. The updates to the plan are included in my second report today, so I'll go through that in a minute. Training, the prescribed training for 2025 hasn't changed from the 2018 guidance notes from the province. We provided some training you can see listed there, and then of note, we were focused on the emergency management software D4H training this year, trying to get everyone comfortable and just a little bit of experience in that program. The emergency exercise we did with the town of Minto and the Township of Mapleton on September 10th. Some of the recommendations that came out of that exercise was how important communication is, and that all the members should kind of know who their counterparts are in the neighboring municipalities. Given the familiarity of the scenario, in the future, we'll take maybe a different look at different kind of scenario, but still hoping to encourage that coordination for future exercises. IMS roles and responsibilities. So some members of the Municipal Emergency Control Group were a little bit unclear about their role or responsibilities. And that kind of resulted in a little bit of confusion sometimes with some of the forms. So our focus in 2026 will be on those roles, responsibilities, and then having some more training specifically on the forms and which forms, which functions are responsible for. And then the D4H functionality, most felt that the software was easy to use, user-friendly, and it was pretty good to work with. We did have some technical issues. We'll make sure we test login prior to the exercise in the future. In terms of public education, we attended 25 events with 2 unfortunately had to be canceled. Of note, in the township, we participated in the Minto Wellington North Save Kids Day and the Newcomer Volunteer event on September 18th. Emergency Preparedness Week was May 4th to 10th this year. We did all our regular kind of county page in the Wellington Advertiser, radio ads, social media, and then we also offered promotional materials at the libraries across the county. We continued with our Do One Thing campaign for monthly themes, but we did just update in the spring. We did a little bit more focus on avian influenza awareness as we're seeing that emerge more often. And then in terms of critical infrastructure, we're required to identify those facilities throughout the township. So we've provided that update. The common operating picture, which is the mapping software we use to track all of that, will be updated by the end of 2026. We were hoping to have that done earlier, but due to staffing constraints we experienced this year, it just hasn't been completed. But in conclusion, the township has met those requirements under the Act. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Randy? Seeing any, we do have a couple of recommendations here coming out of that. First one being Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received report 2025-001 emergency response plan updates regarding the updates to the Township of Wellington North, County of Wellington, and member municipalities emergency response plan. And further, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the bylaw to amend bylaw number 75-2020 to adopting the 2020 emergency response plan. 2025 revisions for the Township of Wellington North, County of Wellington, and neighboring municipalities. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor Rankin with Councilor McCabe. Any discussion? Those in favor? Carried. I think I had another one that has jumped over. Recommendation is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report EMG 2025-002 Annual Emergency Management Program Report regarding the status of the Township's Emergency Management Program for 2025. That the Council accepts the annual status report of the Township's Emergency Management Program for 2025. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor Burke, Councilor Hearn, thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Brandon. Okay, Jerry, I guess it's over to you.
Let me just trying to queue this up.
Whenever you're ready, Jerry.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of Council. Pleased to be here this year to present the 2026 draft budget as prepared by staff on behalf of the Township of Wellington North. Today's presentation will cover the operating budget, 2026 proposed capital program, a levy impact analysis, the transfers to reserve and reserve funds, and debt projections for 2026 and beyond. The aim of the annual budget is to focus resources to deliver council's values on behalf of the township. As a process this year, on September 3rd, departments templates were sent out to the various heads of departments. Between September and October, there were meetings between finance and the various department heads. The first joint meeting with council is today, November 3rd. There are 2 sessions planned for December 1st and December 15th to round the year out. Today's ask as well would be for council to confirm and discuss the levy target, confirm and discuss priority projects, identify any additional information that you would like to see in the next sessions of the budget presentations. With the process set here, we'll move to the major assumptions for the 2026 budget. The operating budget for 2026 assumes the same level of services that we've had in the previous year's budget, unless documented and otherwise presented to council previously. There are corporate-wide cost pressures, wages and salaries varying from department to department, union and non-union employees. We also have payroll remittances increases of around 5% for the next year's budget. At this time, staff are projecting a 5% increase for insurance and for hydro, a 3.7% increase year over year. Construction price index as of Q2 2025 is currently sitting at 3.94%. In the next month here, we'll have the data for Q3 and we'll have that updated for the December presentation. Another pressure on the budget this year is the conservation authorities. We've received budgets from GRCA, 9.2% increase year over year, MVCA, 14.2% increase year over year. For SVCA, we've only received category 1 at this time. We're anticipating category 2 and category expenses to be provided to us shortly. In the interim, we've used the 5% placeholder. Cumulatively, for conservation authorities, we have an 8.5% increase in the budget in comparison to last year, rounded up to about $20,000. Before we go into the operating budget dollars, a quick Before going into the 2026 operating dollars, a quick note on assessments. Growth is new assessment. It doesn't raise taxes on existing taxpayers. In 2025, the township has experienced a 1.7% growth. In comparison to last year, we had a growth of 7.89%. That 7.89% reflected impacts catching up from the last few years, COVID impacts and whatnot. This year normalizes back to about 1.7. For context, the township as a whole is tracking at around 2%. So let's move into the operating budget. High level, the levy requirement is $11.35 million, up approximately $625,000 or 5.8%. I will hit the main drivers by function. General government is up about $350,000. This is mainly due to a transfer of a position from recreation and cultural services to general government and the related expenses for that role. We also have a reduction in our estimates for supplemental budget due to the fact that the in-year growths are normalizing. We also have a lease termination within property next year, which has impacted the estimates within general government. So it's up $350,000 year for year. Protection services is up $53,000 next year. We have a new crossing guard in Otter, higher conservation authority budgets, as we just discussed in the previous slides. And under animal control, we have no canine license revenues next year. We also have moderate increases in fire and bylaw for 2026 as well in that segment. Transportation services is the next segment here, up about 4% or $250,000. Main drivers here, staffing cost again, traffic calming initiatives next year, and increased materials and supplies tied to inflation. Health services is the next segment here, up $44,000. Primary driver for this growth is due to the 2026 capital program in cemetery. Recreation and cultural services down overall, driven by transfer of a position from that group to general government, offset by additional facility expenses, materials and supplies as well. Rounding up with planning and development, up slightly by $4,682. Staffing costs, legal and advertising, offset by higher revenues. The next two slides are line by line breakdown of the segments I just summarized. So you can see where the changes land within each function. The first slide is the breakdown of general government and protection services. The second slide shows the breakdown of transportation services, health services, recreation and cultural services, and rounds up with planning and development. This year, we have a 1% increase as levy transfers to capital and reserve funds. To capital, we have a growth of 2.09%. It's about $63,890. And to reserves and reserve funds, we're down by about 2.65%, representing a $25,000 rounded decrease. This next slide summarizes where the 2026 operating dollars have gone. I will list some of the major headers here. Roads at 46.3%, recreation and economic development at 22.1%, administration to general government at 15.1%, and fire at 8.1%. The slide in front of you shows an impact analysis for the proposed tax levy change for next year. We're proposing a levy change of 4.13% at this time. This is made up of a 5.82 gross levy pressure offset by 1.7 assessment growth. That would bring the household increase to $61.35 using the same 2016 CVA of $271,636. That impact, a 1% impact would translate to about $14.85 per year. The next slide shows our net transfers to reserve and reserve funds for both the levy and rates, user fee rates. Transfers keep our reserves healthy while funding the priority work for the township. 2026 budget shows a net transfer increase of 189,000. Tax supported transfers are down slightly year over year. This is driven by a $66,000 transfer from the election reserve to the operating budgets to fund next year's council elections. And we also have low anticipated transfers to reserves from CBO. On the rate side of things, there's a transfer from sewer to reserves is also down, and water is up by $341,000. New this year is a 2-year forecast. This would help council and staff for planning purposes, and it's also a starting point to a true multi-year budget. In carrying out the forecast for 2027 and 2028, staff have had major assumptions used within this program. Wages, insurance, utilities at a 5-year average, or same percentage as the 2026 versus 2025, whichever was deemed more conservative. One-time items were normalized. In summary, for the township levy requirement, we're showing a 4.8% growth for 2027 in comparison to the budget as presented, and a 4.6% growth for comparison of the 2028 forecast versus the 2027 forecast. We've also projected increases to capital and reserves for both years, rounding up a 6.15% change between 2027 and 2026 budget, and 2028 versus 2027 forecast at 4.73%. We'll turn to the capital budget. The total program ask for 2026 is currently at 9.16 million. Environmental services is listed at 585,000. General government have submissions of about $946,000. Infrastructure, operation, and transportation at $4.89 million. Protection services rounded up to 80,000. Recreation services at $1.1 million, and fleet at 1.5 million. The next slide shows general government, the acts from general government for the 2026 capital program, for a total acts of 946,000. The major projects here are the Auto Office parking lot, the demolition of the former Sacred Heart Catholic School, and IT projects totaling, in all, totaling $946,000. The next slide is environmental services. This is the list of all the total acts from that department for $585,000. Doesn't include linear infrastructure work, which are with the road transportation services. The next slide is infrastructure and transportation services. This slide shows a full 2026 capital list for infrastructure. A total acts of 4.89 million, includes linear infrastructure work for environmental services, especially on the reconstruction between Smith and Walton. The slide in front of you is for protection services. The slide shows the full 2026 capital list for that department, total acts of $80,000 for regular year-to-year apparatus. The next two slides are for projects for recreation and community and economic development, a total acts of $1.2 million. And the final slide is the 2026 fleet program, a total acts of $1.5 million, includes 2 pickup trucks, an SUV, a backhoe loader, a road grader, and a sidewalk trackless tractor. This slide summarizes the capital dollar summary for 2026. It shows where the various departments, how they've sliced out of the 9.16 budget acts. 53% roads and related infrastructure, fleet at 17%, recreation services at 12%, and general government at 10%. The next two slides as well speak to our capital program. They show the trend of our 2026 capital acts in comparison to the trend for previous years and the utilized funding sources towards this year's budget. Revenue, which are levy fees, user fees, is accounting for $4.7 million of the $9.16 million acts. Development charges and reserves at $1.7 million. Developer contributions at $50,000. Gas tax at $193,000. OCIF funding at $1.4 million. And we have an unfunded amount of $1,050,000. The slide in front of you shows the total submissions for 2026 capital program. We're at 18.5 million. From prioritization framework, prioritization and staff deliberation, about $9.3 million of these amounts were shifted to 2027-2028 initial capital listings. The list of all the programs of all the projects not prioritized in 2026 are what are now shown in the two slides here, and the capital justification sheets for those projects as well were included in the appendices sent out on Friday. The slide in front of us here is our proposed 2026 debt level. Within this fiscal year, with staff had come to council with a report on proposed funding towards the Auto Wastewater Treatment Plant Phase 2 expansion. In that report, we contemplated debt of about $4.7 million towards that project. Staff were also asking, as part of that debt issuance next year, that $1 million and 50,000 be included to support the capital program for Clark Street between Smith and Walton. This slide also shows the ARL limits that the province had for the township in 2025 at $3,477,661. Our existing debt service fell this year to $565,252.78. Using 3.5% over a 10-year period to model out the debt servicing for the proposed debt levels would be an additional debt repayment of $689,433.64 annually. Of that amount, $125,000 will be tax supported and $564,000 will be DC rate supported. I also wanted to state that this gives us about $2.2 million away from the upper end of the limit at 25%. Staff also recommending that the limit be kept around the 15% match radius because that gives us flexibility into the future. As indicated earlier, we're asking for council direction on the levy. We're asking for council direction on the capital program as presented. And we're asking for additional feedback or directions the council would like to see in the next two meetings in December 1st and December 15th. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Any questions from council for Jerry?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Lennox. What page were we on? Sorry? Oh, hey. There's always a lot of expenses and everything that we have to go through with the budget. I was just wondering, the number 1.70 for, I guess that's organic growth through property taxes, is that right?
Mayor Lennox, that's organic growth for next year. 1.7 organic growth as of in year this year. We're currently tracking at 1.7%. We expect one last data refresh this month that will show us our final position for 2025.
Okay, and that number is the 4.444 million. Is that correct?
Say that again.
The 1.7 for organic growth through property taxes, is that the 4.444612 million on the second last page?
That number is great for that.
That's what I'm wondering. Like what I guess what I. Is
No.
there a number tied to how much new property taxes we are taking in this year versus last year or 2023?
Premier Lennox, the 4.725 million that represents the debt that was proposed towards the auto wastewater treatment plant in the council report provided to council early in the year.
No, I'm asking like with our property taxes that we've had with new housing and new
I
build.
want to know what the $1.7,
Yeah.
not just a percentage.
Yeah, the 1.7, 1% of our tax base is about $113,000. So 1.7 will probably put us closer to a $200,000 increase.
Year over year for property tax increase.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That's increased revenue coming from new growth.
Yeah, not.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of after. Yeah. And then if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
With the one expenses, I can't think what page it was on, but you had the demolition for the old Catholic church at 375. This might not be the right time for this question, but where are we, or can we get back to that to see where we are with that at another point?
Premier Lennox, that's a provision in our budget this year, just indicating wherever council's direction go. The funds are coming from the reserves that we use towards land matters, purchasing of land, disposing of land. If the decision changes or it's a different decision, that amount will sit in that reserve and not be utilized.
All right, good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Burke?
Yeah, so just to go back to Councillor McCabe's question, so the money for the demolition is coming out of reserves?
Yes.
Premier Lennox, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Because I had that down as some premature action, so
Yeah.
So
I do have a couple of other questions, if I may.
Sure.
So under fire services, we have a minor hall reno at 30,000. Understanding that, you know, in the grand scheme of things, when we're looking at millions of dollars, that's not a lot, but I question understanding the need for it, but also question the 30,000 for the reno based on the fact that there is lots of discussion about this facility not being appropriate for the fire services. So I guess my question is why would we continue to put money into a building that potentially will be used for another service or completely renoed at some time to host the fire services?
I can answer that through you, Mayor Lennox. That's just to get us a shower, one shower in the building, because we have no showers in there. So that's to renovate just the one bathroom to get one shower in there and to expand the bunker gear room across to the existing radio room to make it bigger so we can actually fit everybody in one room. So there's just those minor things which will buy us a few more years to provide that to abide by our cancer prevention plan.
Okay, thank you. So I see also that we're looking at a new mower for the cemetery, understanding that it's 10 years old, so it's sort of past its life expectancy. So I'm just wondering about the costs of the maintenance and service over the years, whether we could stretch that out for a couple of years, but then also see that roads and transportation is looking at replacing the John Deere and whether that could be used, the 3039 John Deere that's used for sidewalks and grass cutting, whether that could be used for the cemetery as opposed to purchasing new.
Dale, I don't know if you want to speak to that. The problem with grass in the summer is it all needs cut at the same time. And the cemetery is large and a lot of grass cutting goes on there. And if they're waiting because another department is using it, our cemetery isn't going to look as nice as what it does. But Dale, I'll let you speak to that.
So I'm sorry, I think if I may, the question is, instead of buying two new pieces of equipment, can we transfer one to a department and only purchase one? Sorry,
Oh, I'm
Karen.
sorry, I misunderstood you, Councillor.
Yeah, that's okay.
Dale?
Through you, Mayor Lennox. I'm just not sure how to answer that, Sherry. It's kind of two different pieces of equipment that we're talking about. Roads is more of a sidewalk mower, where cemetery is strictly grass cutting. So two different machines, and maneuverability would be another thing too. The zero turn works really well as far as going around headstones and whatnot, where the tractor is not quite as agile, I guess I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll let
any-
somebody else have a turn.
Okay. Any other questions from council at this point?
The only couple I had have already been taken up with Councillor McCabe and Councillor Burke.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Hearn, did you have any questions at this point?
Not right now, but I think we're gonna, they're looking for a recommendation for impact to taxpayers. So we're gonna have to swing back to that, but other than that.
Okay. I have a couple of questions here. The McPherson Park upgrade, and maybe it was in the capital justifications, but I'd like to better understand the scope of that upgrade. Okay, go ahead, Mandy.
Thank you, Mayor Lennox. So beginning of this year, we did reach out to a contractor to provide us with some quotes and designs as it relates to McPherson Park. They provided us some design drawings as it relates to the surfacing. So that would be removing the interlocking brick that is currently in place and replacing the Arthur sign that is currently there in the service club sign, as well as the upgrading the plantings, so the trees, the bushes, the shrubs, making it more of a welcoming space to sit and connecting it back over to the J.J. McClellan signs.
Okay, so I understand the removal of the interlock. I guess I'm struggling with, given the location and the nature of that park and what I see it being used for or not see it being used for, I struggle with investing in facilities for people to sit in that particular location. So I just want to understand the extent of those upgrades, because to me, that park area would probably be just as useful in terms of providing a welcoming venue without any of those additional amenities, unless there's, usage there that I don't see.
Yep.
Can you comment on that?
Sure, Mayor Lennox. So this is something that's come forward from a community request. So it's something that we were looking at in terms of investing in that space to make it a more welcoming space to sit and eat picnics, resurfacing the ground with stamped concrete or concrete of another sort. But certainly if the intended use is to not necessarily have picnic area there, then grass would certainly suffice in that area.
Yeah, I think the area just further up Francis Street at the other corner is a lot better place for a picnic area than that particular location, in that it's away from the main traffic area, has a good deal of shade, and is a much quieter, more welcoming location for that use, from my personal experience anyway. So I guess the question in my mind is, have we considered changing the scope of what that park, or revisiting what the scope of that park's purpose is? Go ahead, Mandy.
If I may, through the recreation master plan, that's certainly something that we can discuss as well. The preliminary budget proposals that came through were substantially higher, so we were going to be reducing the scope of work regardless of what came in from the designs. But certainly if it comes back that the community is not as interested in utilizing that space as a seating space, then we can certainly look at other areas in our community or not at all and put those dollars somewhere else.
Yeah, except during the duck race, I've never seen anyone sitting in that area myself. Okay, thank you. Jerry, a question for you. In your multi-year budget, in terms of the assumptions you put in there, and by the way, thank you for including that. I think that's a great step in the right direction, and I fully support going to more years. Helps us look forward and think about what the future holds. But in terms of your assumptions, did you put in an assumption there from a assessment growth perspective?
True, Lennox. That's something that we're working with Impact on. We're trying to get a sense of how we can forecast the assessment growth. So if you look at what we've presented to you, is really the growth on the levy without any underlying impact of what it will look like after the assessment growth. So similar to this year, where we're talking about a 5.8% increase and the 1.7 organic growth, bringing it down to 4.13. We've just shown just that first line item of 4.76 and 4.61% year over year.
So that's not that number is not considering.
It's pre-organic growth. Yeah.
Any assessment growth. Okay. And then I guess the other question I have is cemetery looks like it continues to be weighing on the levy, and I guess I'm just a broken record where we're going with cemetery in terms of being self-funding, and it just seems every year that we make progress on this and then it seems to go back the other way. So I guess I'd like some context to what's happening in that regard.
So the cemetery fees, they'll be on a report on our fees and charges bylaw at the first meeting in December. And so the proposal is to bring them up. What was discussed a couple years ago it's still not going to be cost recovery. But the items that are in the capital budget are items that council had identified over the years, specifically the fence. What are the other things that are in there? The fence, some capital repairs, the door, things like that, that specifically council requested. The survey is because we really don't truly know where our boundaries are. Some of it was bought in the 1800s and some was added. I mean, so these are just things that are being put in front of council for consideration. Again, these were things that were talked about previously that council felt that they would have liked to see.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Other questions anybody has? Councillor Rankin?
Thank you. I noticed the facility master plan is 60,000 and the recreation master plan update is 75,000. I'm just wondering what constitutes the amount for those, and if there's any way we could pare back a bit.
Mandy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Lennox. The recreation master plan would be an update from the 2018 master plan that we did. The recreation master plan slightly more, a little bit more money in the budget because we're looking at land use planning as well for sports fields, various things that have come up. So multi-use courts, looking at the land that we have available and how best to plan out the use of that space. I'd also look at our rate fees and cost recovery as it relates to that. We could certainly cut the scope back a little bit, but we might be missing some of that really important information that we're hoping to glean from the master plans. And then similarly with the facility master plan, it would be similar, but it's looking at facility wide, not just recreation facilities.
Okay. Other questions? Councillor Burke?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Lennox. To Councillor Rankin's point, those were also on my list. Because the recreation master plan is not really that old, I would like to see that potentially deferred. I think the facility master plan would be much more useful considering the conversations that we've had with not just recreation facilities, but all of the facilities that we own as the township. And my question my other question for Mandy would be the flagpole upgrades. If I could just get a little bit better understanding as to what exactly, like, the flagpoles are there, so what's the need for the upgrades?
Okay, go ahead, Mandy.
Thank you, Mayor Lennox, through you. So the flagpole upgrades would be upgrading some of our existing flagpoles on sites. So at the Mount Forest Sports Complex, it would be adding a third flagpole to that location as well. Looking at the Arthur Arena, which currently does not have any community flagpoles or flagpoles at all, adding 3 flagpoles there. So the cost of those are between $2,500 to $3,000. And then replacing the older style, which are quite cumbersome when we do have to do half masting in the winter. We have to dig out around the bases of those flagpoles in order to get to the levers. So it would be upgrading those at our facilities.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything further right now, Councilor Bennett?
That's pretty much covered my list. I would like to say, though, I was quite impressed that fleet management was under control this year with 2 pickups and 1 SUV, other than the equipment that transportation services are asking for replacement. So I was happy to see that personal type vehicles were in check.
Councilor Kate.
Oh, thank you, and through you. Just with the general government, the Arthur office parking lot for a little over 257,000. Is that like the new Cozy Nuts? No, I shouldn't say new, the renovated Cozy Nuts parking lot?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lennox. So that's what the proposal is. Yeah. It includes a storm sewer infrastructure, catch basin to get that stormwater out to Main Street, paving, and some accessible line painting.
Ready? And then if I can continue.
Go ahead.
The IT projects for 100 and just a little under 174,000, what are they all comprised of?
Mayor Lennox. The IT projects include work on our wastewater treatment facilities, SCADA upgrades. In addition to that, we have some cybersecurity measures in there. We can just include those in the information package sent out, and some upgrade to our network switches and things like that as well.
Okay.
Councilor Rank.
Thank you. I was just wondering what was going to be done at the Mount Forest Cenotaph for 30,000.
Mandy.
Thank you, Mayor Lennox, through you. That's a proposal to remove the interlocking brick and replace that with stamped concrete. That is at the request or consultation with our local Legion. So that's a project that we are looking into for 2026 to replace that stamped the interlocking brick with stamped concrete or concrete in that area.
Go ahead.
Is that a project that could be deferred?
In speaking with the Mount Forest Legion, if I may, through you, Mayor Lennox, in speaking with the Mount Forest Legion, they would be supportive of that. They wanted to put it on our radar. They've also offered to support us in removing the stone to try and keep the cost down as well.
Other questions, comments? Go ahead, Councilor Burke.
So, just going through my notes here, I just have 2 more questions, and this would be for infrastructure. The design work for Mount Forest Drive at 34,000. I'm just trying to get a better understanding of how far we're looking at bringing it up to municipal standards from the dead end.
Through you, Mayor Lennox. So currently the condition of the road there is failing. So we're looking at doing the design to support that. And during the detailed review of the design work, we would determine where the limits would be. Most likely the urbanization would bring it up to at least pass the no frills development to allow for pedestrians to access that site.
Thank you. And also the Cork Street design. I'm wondering if that could be deferred until we have a better understanding of when all of the development is going to happen there.
Through you, Mary Lennox, that request was to support the ongoing discussions with the developers on either side of Cork Street.
Okay, thank you. I wondered if that was connected, so thank you for that, Tammy.
Any other questions? I got one, Jerry, and in your presentation, and I think it was during the capital part of the presentation, there was a line item that I thought was glossed over a little bit, and I'd like some further explanation. And that's was a little over $1 million unfunded. So when I hear something is unfunded, I'm a little nervous. So can you help me understand what that's all about?
Through you, Mayor Lennox. As part of the second to the last slide, where we had the debt utilization and ARL compliance, I had listed out $1,050,000 as part of our debt insurance for next year. That would help fund the Clark Street reconstruction between Smith and Wharton. So since we're going to be having debt insurance for the treatment plant, we felt it would be, because of the life of this particular assets, that we can tag on this amount, especially to make it very appealing to the debt the creditors, to bring back about a $5 million access against the 4.7 million that we initially contemplated. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And on a similar topic, in the initial, well, maybe not initial isn't the right word, but in the proposed funding arrangement for the wastewater treatment plant, it anticipated that 4.75 million in debt. Have we got all the pieces in place to close the gap and fully fund that program, that project?
Trigger Mayor Lennox, one of the things that we're going to come back to council with was our framework for the conversations we're going to be having with developers. But as of the last estimates that we had, the 13.5 million, we had brought back a funding split across development and township levy supported or rate supported. So at some point, we'll be bringing back another report to just speaks to that framework. I anticipate that we would also have to do an engineering estimate because the last one has been so far back, and then see how we bridge that gap between the two estimates.
So we might need more debt.
Correct.
Thank you. And then I had a question with regard to the way I understand this. We're talking about issuing some debt for the Clark Street project as well, which is an ongoing infrastructure renewal project. And I guess I really prefer personally to focus our debt on future growth type assets as opposed to infrastructure renewal. And I just am concerned that if we take on debt for this project, which I'm not totally opposed to, but we've got to try to find a way to fully fund going forward our asset renewal. And long-term, the long-term debt I don't believe is the right solution. Because you can't just keep issuing more debt for that. You've got to pay for it on an ongoing basis. So I guess I'd like to discuss your thoughts on that.
True, Mayor Lennox. We've engaged the county on the possibility of issuing debt next year towards the wastewater treatment plant. Some of the feedback we've gotten back from the county is that if the lower tiers are not interested in debt at a significant level, they most likely don't have a need for debt themselves. So in the case where we're not getting the same level of pull across the board, we had prioritized that if from many of our capital acts this year, this project made the most sense from a lifetime expectancy to be attributing debt towards. It's a $2.6 million act. So we're paying for over 50% of that through levying rates. But the $1,050,000 will support the other acts that we're going to make of the county and ensures that in the absence of any other lower tier seeking debt through them, that we have a fair chance of being able to issue debt next year for our own needs. Our ARL, and that's why I've included the ARL in this presentation this year. And compared, I don't think I've had them in the last few years. It just shows us where we are in comparison to our limits. We've done a very good job of using debt only for growth, and I will continue to prioritize that going forward. But just in this very peculiar state where we have to issue debt next year, and we want to be in a competitive environment. That's why I've attributed $1,050,000 towards this.
I'm going to let you off the hot seat, Jerry, and go back to Mandy. There was a number of projects in the Arthur Community Center, Mandy. So change rooms, the auditorium. Can you just give me more detail in terms of the scope of what we're proposing? I mean, there was a proposal we looked at a few years ago where it was going to require a major building upgrade, which would have dealt with some of the issues at the change rooms. Just want to understand what we're proposing to do in the interim.
That's correct. Thank you, Mayor Lennox. So in 2019, as part of the ICIP grant application that we submitted, we had looked at the Arthur Arena and some of the upgrades that could be required. So as it relates to the Arthur Auditorium, we have 2 HVAC units. Those are $80,000. That includes the install of those 2 HVAC units and the supply of them as well. The auditorium dollars that are associated with that would be for the design for the kitchen, the storage room, universal washroom, and then the back bar area. The current storage area that we have at the arena is not safe for staff, the way that we're storing our tables and chairs. So we'd be looking at adding some space, taking some space away from the kitchen, but renovating the kitchen so that it would better accommodate the needs of those who use it. So adding some undermount storage for plates and cups and things like that in the island. And then renovating the universal washroom so that it would include an adult change table. We currently do not have one in our facility. And then upgrading the bar area as well. So this would be for plans to get that done, working with engineers and architects to get that designed.
Okay, thank you. And then the change rooms, what are we?
Correct. So thank you. So the dollars for the change room renovation, that also includes working with engineers to look at how we could optimize space for those change rooms. Right now, the hallway is too thin or too small for emergency use to get their stretchers in there. We also have to look at upgrading all of the bathrooms, the showers, the drainage, HVAC, gas. So the dollars that are associated with that are to look at, can we extend the change rooms out towards the road? What does it look like to move our gas, move the electrical, move the plumbing, and set a good design in place for those 6 change rooms?
So it's just design work at this stage?
That would be design work at this stage. Getting a full cost estimate. Right now, we don't have a full cost estimate. We have very high level estimates, but we need to understand what the work or how many dollars will go into the work for those for that project. So again, moving the gas, moving the HVAC, plumbing, everything, and how much space we'll actually gain. Right now, staff have an idea based on the 2019 drawings as to how we could accommodate that, but we want to make sure that we're doing it in the best way possible. So these dollars are to explore that.
Okay, and we're not proposing to put dollars into actual renovation in the 2026 budget period.
That's correct. Not in 2026 for the actual completion of the work, just the design work. And then that way we would have a better understanding for 27, 28 as to what kind of dollars we need in order to renovate those change rooms.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Lennox, I'll keep Mandy on the hot seat. You touched on it a little bit, just the arena kitchen. Is this somewhere that renovation in some of the pricing here, or did I overlook that?
Thank you, Councillor McCabe, through you, Mayor Lennox. So the dollars that we have associated in the budget are for the design work for the kitchen, as well as the universal bathroom and the storage room. We didn't put dollars in for the actual renovation of the kitchen this year, just based on timeframes. Our concern was that if we tried to capture it all in 2026, we would run into the fall fair and the wedding season, as well as the Christmas season for renovations. So we really wanted to get a firm design plan in place and concrete construction timelines so that we could try to minimize the impact to our renters.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Councillor Rankin?
Sorry, through you, Mayor Lennox, for Mandy again. I was just wondering, unless I'm missing it, I don't see any amount for upgrades for the Mount Forest Community Center.
Yep, that through you, Mayor Lennox, to you, Councillor Rankin, that is correct. We did preliminarily list some dollars for upgrades to the Mount Forest Community Center. Those have been deferred to 2027. They include some upgrades to HVAC units and a dehumidifier, as well as the demolition of the change rooms. At this time, until we have further direction from council, we didn't put additional funds in the budget for that facility.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Further questions, comments? Councillor Burke?
Yes, thank you. This isn't really related to the 2026 budget, although I didn't see other than, but for the projections or assumptions for 2027 and 2028, unless I missed it, I don't see any dollars associated with the Mount Forest pool build. If somebody can.
Through you, Mayor Lennox, that amount, we would bring it back as part of the actual budget in 2027. We didn't see any need projecting for it in 2027 to 2028 listing. That's really a compilation of all of our deferred projects that we know of today into those years. But we know we have a standing request towards that Mount Forest pool build of $350,000 yearly.
Yes, I saw that. Thank you, Jerry.
Councillor Rankin?
Thank you. Earlier on in the year, we were discussing the possibility of having the track at the Mount Forest Community Center plowed, and I'm just wondering if that's in here as well. We had left it for next year's budget.
You want to tackle that one, Brooke?
Through you, Mayor Lennox. Yes. So the direction that we received from council has been considered as part of our operating plan. And so staff are aware that we'll be clearing that track at the Mount Forest Community Center. Yeah.
So just on that topic, Mandy, if I could, we've been having some preliminary discussions about the old arena in Mount Forest, or the community center, and facilities master plan and a recreation master plan. Do all these things fit together, or is there a chronology that comes, like a sequence that comes to these, or just tell me what your vision is for those type of things and how they fit together?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Lennox. So with the recreation master plan, I'll kind of start with that one. It was completed in 2018. Within it, there were 74 recommendations. In the first couple of years, we had completed most of those recommendations, aside for the ongoing ones. Since that time, we have received a lot of requests from our community as it relates to needs and wants in our community, such as, dog parks, multi-surface courts, hardball diamonds, cricket, soccer pitches, those types of things. So the recreation master plan would look at some of our facilities, land use, and identify what our community could sustain. It would also be looking at our rates and fees and what we're charging versus our expenses, how best we could recover some of those costs. It would take an opportunity to consult with our community further and understand what the wants are, and how best to get those for the community. So from a recreation master plan, that's kind of what we're looking at for that. We do, as staff, receive a lot of feedback from our community about what they would like to see, and having the recreation master plan is a nice guiding document. I'll use, for example, the summer day camp program when we launched it in 2019. That came out of the recreation master plan in 2018. So there are a lot of small wins. They're big wins, but they're small wins in terms of setting some of those priorities for us based on the community consultation. With the facilities master plan, I think it goes hand in hand with the recreation master plan, especially when we're talking about some of our facilities and how we're using them. The Mount Forest Community Center is an example of that, or the Damascus Hall, the Lions Blacksmith Shop. We have a lot of wonderful facilities in our community, and understanding the cost to operate those and the impact for the community, as well as programming opportunities. I think that's why those two projects would go hand in hand quite well.
Okay, thank you. Other questions, comments from council? Councillor Hearn, did you have anything?
No, I think we've covered everything.
Okay. So just to reiterate the process, Jerry, you're looking for some guidance from council so that you can bring the next draft back in early December.
Correct.
And then hopefully put the final refinements on and approve in the middle of December.
True, Mayor Lennox, that's correct.
So in the direction you're looking for today is any direction related to the tolerance for raising the tax levy to, you've got, I think 4.13 is proposal, and then any capital adjustments as well, correct?
True, Mayor Lennox, that's correct.
Okay. So I guess I go to council and ask those questions. What things, I mean, I know that through some of the discussion, there has been some comments regarding some of the capital projects, but time to kind of summarize where we are with those and where we think we can go from a taxation perspective. Anybody like to start us off? Councillor Rankin?
I'll take a crack at it. I was just thinking with some of the items we've mentioned that we would like to be deferred or lessened a little bit. I'm just wondering if there's any possibility of bringing the levy down to under 4, so at least it reads 3 something. If it would be a little more palatable to the public.
Okay. I think I would support that.
I'm good with that. If we take out what we've kind of chatted about or deferred, just to get that final number, I think. And see where we end up that way. That would be a good step.
Okay. Councillor Burke?
Yeah, so for my tolerance, I'd actually like to see it around 3%. We've had a lot of discussion about water and wastewater rates potentially going up. And I think there are some projects that we've discussed here that could potentially be deferred. And I just think that we say it all the time, we have one taxpayer. And with everything going up and some uncertainty in the economy still, I think I'd be more comfortable with it down around 3%.
Okay. Councillor Hearn?
Councillor Burke essentially said what I was going to say. I would like to have it at 3%. The inflation rate is sitting at about 2. I'm not comfortable doubling that onto taxpayers, so kind of feel that CPI plus 1% is some sort of happy medium where it's maybe not quite so difficult for a taxpayer. That's all.
Yeah. And if I can add on to Councillor Hearn's comments, that gives us some funds to bring in, and having it about a little bit above with the 1% also doesn't get us falling behind, so that if at some point in the future there would be a large levy increase.
Okay, so we're at 4% plus or minus a little bit. Right now, to get to 3%, we would need to cut out, I'm looking at Jerry, around $110,000.
Or more. We're at 4.13%. We will need to cut out about, I would say about $140,000 to get to 3. Yeah.
So I guess the question then becomes, what do we think that we can remove to save that 140,000? Brooke?
Through you, Mayor Lennox, it might be helpful just for staff to take away the comments that we've heard today and come back with a couple options that would get us around between that 3 and 4% mark, based on the information that we have, the comments we've received from council, and then any other considerations that should be brought before. So
Okay.
unless there's specific projects everyone agrees to, staff can take that away and look at a couple different options to bring back.
Yeah, I just thought if there was specific capital projects that we want to remove or defer or whatever, we probably should get some of that flushed out here as well. That's kind of where I was headed. So there's been a few suggestions. I didn't write them all down, but does anybody have any strong feelings about what they'd like to see removed from a capital perspective, or service adjustments that would make changes from an operating perspective? If not, we can ask staff to give us some options. Councillor Rinke?
I just had a further question. The Arthur Baseball Diamond lighting, is it that they don't have lighting now, or that they are requiring more lighting? I'm just wondering if there's somewhere we could reduce some of the lighting there, or if it's a safety requirement.
Go ahead, Mandy.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lennox. So the lighting is to upgrade to LEDs. Earlier this summer, we actually had one of our lights go out. And when we reached out to the supplier and our electrician, we found out that those ballasts and bulbs are no longer supplied or made. So then we had to switch to the LED light without having the budget dollars available. So we were able to make those upgrades through operating. The concern is that when they were up there, they did determine that most of them, if not all, are at end of life. Some of the ones that are okay to be reused, we would take down, put in storage, and then use to upgrade Mount Forest if they were to lose one. And then in the future, you would see another request come through for the Mount Forest ball diamonds to be upgraded to LED as well. It's just because we simply can't purchase them anymore.
Jerry?
Through you, Mayor Lennox, to Councillor Rankin. Just to add an additional context to that project, it's fully funded out of the reserves. It has no implication on the tax levy at this time.
Councillor McCabe.
Through you, Mayor. I guess if we're looking to cut, and maybe this isn't the right spot to, because we don't know where we're at yet, but just going back to the old Catholic school, there's 375 that we could potentially take out, depending on where we're going.
Being funded from reserves, so it's not having any direct impact on the levy.
All right.
Councillor Rankin.
I'm just wondering if we can take out the Mount Forest cenotaph. I think Mandy said that it was something that the Legion was looking for in future and would like it on the radars, if it's something that we could take out this year.
Anything anybody else would like? Go ahead, Councillor Burke.
Yeah, and as I had suggested earlier, the design work for Mount Forest Drive at 34,000. So that gets at if we did the cenotaph and the Mount Forest Drive, we're looking at 64,000 right now. So that would get us a portion there. I know I had said about the facility master plan and the rec master plan. I still do question, although Mandy, you did explain it very well, that they do go hand in hand. If we had to choose, I would rather see the facilities master plan move forward. Only because I believe that would sort of sum up some of the conversations that we've been having about township-owned buildings and space and accommodation.
Okay. Any other suggestions at this point? Okay, so I think we'll turn that over to staff to look for some opportunities and give us some options in the next round of this. But,
Just for clarity, are we the direction we're getting? It's at 3% or it's at CPI plus 1%? Because CPI currently is at 2.4%. So I just wanted clarity on what the direction is.
yeah, Councillor Burke.
Yeah, so my tolerance would be around 3%, give or take a little bit. So would love to have it less than 3, and if it's 3.2, I'm okay with that. But somewhere in the variant of 3%.
Okay. Anyone else like to weigh in? We've heard a range of suggestions, Jerry. I think we're going to have to deal with this by a range of, or maybe not a range of options, but it's an options that we look at and decide, okay, to get to 3%, this is what it means we got to remove. Does that mean we go to 3.5 to get certain things? So I think we need to look at it from that perspective, and then we'll have to weigh in on it. I realize it's not as nice and tight and clear as it ideally would be, but I think that's where we have to be.
For you, Mayor Lennox, I think we have our direction. We'll be able to come back with something within that range of what has been discussed here today in our next meeting, December 1st.
So I have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report TR 2025-10, being a report on the Township of Wellington North 2026 operating and capital budget, and that council provide direction. Do we need that? That you have council provided direction regarding the tax levy increments for 2026. Moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Any final discussion? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're on to deputations. I see Jeff's on the screen. Are you with us, Jeff?
Yes, thank you.
So whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Okay, I don't know if drawings are available for us to share. I'm a map kind of person, but fundamentally we're here to talk about a severance application that has been considered by the committee before. What I found was that by the time we got to the Land Division Committee, and this council had already seen the project, that I discovered there was a mistake, a fairly significant mistake in the aerial imagery of the proposed severance, making it look like there was a lot of agricultural land being added to the severance. We have taken the steps to um, keep the amount of agricultural land as small as possible. And so I've forwarded several drawings to your staff showing the current proposal for the severance. Right now, the amount of agricultural land being added to this particular seven is 0.4 or 0.37 of a hectare. And with our engineering staff, and we've kind of figured out a layout that's reasonable in light of the septic bed and the well and the driveway and so on. Also, just to note that we've positioned this severance based on a true survey of the, our field crew was actually surveyed the property lines of the existing parcel and the lands to be added in the tree line there. Do people need to see this drawing? Do the drawings that I'm speaking of? Am I clear in what we're talking about?
Why don't I ask Jerry, or is it Jeff? Why don't I ask? Does anybody have any questions with regard to this revised drawing? We're going to be dealing with the commenting recommendation later in the agenda. Not seeing anybody concerned about the drawings. Jeff, thank you for forwarding that. It certainly it makes it a little more clear in a situation where there's a number of constraints on the property.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're on to adoption of the minutes. I have a recommendation that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on October 20th, 2025 be adopted as circulated. Moved by Councillor Burke, seconded by Councillor Hearn. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We do have some business arising from previous meeting. We have a notice of motion from Councillor McCabe. Is this your recommendation, Councillor McCabe? That staff be directed to investigate the feasibility of painting 2 crosswalks, one in Arthur, one in Mount Forest, in honor of those who have served in Canada's armed forces. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Burke? Okay. Discussion. Councillor McCabe, do you want first crack at it?
Sure, I'm looking forward to hearing some of the of a report from staff. I've talked again to Mount Forest Legion and to Arthur Legion since I put this motion forward, and they're looking at in Arthur the location would be from Arthur Cash and Carry to heading south just to the Cenotaph, that crosswalk, so it'd be parallel to Highway 6. And then in Mount Forest, it would be also parallel to Highway 6, but on King Street on the Mount Forest Legion Road as well.
Okay. Other discussion? Councillor Rankin?
Thank you. I'm in favor of that. I think it's a great tribute to our soldiers. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Burke?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing this forward, Councillor McCabe. It was something that was on my radar as well, but you beat me to it. So, but anyways, I'm happy to support it. So the Mount Forest Legion would like it to be closer to the Legion as opposed to the Cenotaph. Is that the discussion that I'm understanding?
Yes, through you, Mayor Lennox. In talking to Ken Thompson from the Legion, they would like it at that crosswalk that goes from BDO to BMO.
Okay.
Yep. I had suggested going down by the Mount Forest Cenotaph, but you can't cross the MTO, and then the only other way would be Parkside, which is kind of out of the way. So they want kind of more exposure for the one in Mount Forest then.
Okay, thank you.
I'm supportive of trying to recognize this. I would also like us to consider the possibility of a section of sidewalk as opposed to necessarily a crosswalk only. In that problem with a crosswalk is as traffic and snow plowing goes over it, it tends to not last as long. So I would hope that we would consider including a sidewalk as an alternative. Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, and that's fine and dandy. I know in talking with people in both towns and the legions, they would have no problem probably putting aside money to maintain it throughout its life.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're on to items for discussion. We have a list of items already requested to be pulled out. We have 1E, 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D, 2E, 4A, 5A, 5B, and 5D. 2F, okay. No, I missed that one. Thank you. So 2F as well. So then we'll deal with all the others. Of course, there can't be too many left. That we have a recommendation that all items listed under items for consideration on the November 3rd, 2025 council agenda, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved and the recommendations therein be adopted. Moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor McCabe. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we'll move on to 1E. This is the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority Directors Meeting. We have a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the minutes of the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority Board of Directors meeting held on September 18th, 2025. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Rankin. Discussion? Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the right place to talk about it or acceptable till we find out more. But on Friday, the province came down with a new announcement regarding all of Ontario conservation authorities. So I just want to let you know that we are probably going to have another conversation, SVCA, and I'm sure every conservation authority is going to as well. Our boards are going to chat to see where we are, what it means, and how we go forward. So just wanted to bring that to council's attention as well. And there was a link, I don't know if it could be forwarded to to council, just to on the announcement that came out. So just wanted to put that on everyone's radar.
And do you have a sense of what the material effect?
It's pretty lengthy.
Okay.
But it's all in the they are wanting to go down to, I believe, a 7 board member. So they want to amalgamate a lot of the CAs that are out there right now. I believe there's 36 CAs altogether, and they want to narrow that number down. So
okay,
it'll be interesting to see where we are and who's actually going to fund it and who is going to sit on these boards as well. I don't know if that's going to be municipal representation like we have right now, or it's going to be appointments from the province. So we're not there yet.
Okay. Interesting times.
Sure is.
Councillor Hearn.
Yeah, and I was going to mention it later, but GRCA, we do have a special meeting on Wednesday morning, and then we will have a statement after that point in time. So we have already scheduled a meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Rankin?
Thank you. Yes, I just had one question. Since they've gone to a 2-zone floodplain management concept, they are permitting conditional development. What is conditional development?
I wish I knew. I kind of sound like a broken record. I'm not sure just yet. I know our general manager, Eric Downing from the SVCA. We're probably going to be talking about that later on this week. But I would suggest it probably doesn't look good for protected areas like the green belt. I'm not sure what the future of that holds.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 2A. This is the consent application B63-25 for Arca Acres Limited. There's a lengthy recommendation in your package there that I'm sure you can review at your leisure. But I would ask for a mover and a seconder for that one. Councillor McCabe, Councillor Hearn, thank you. Any discussion on this one? Councillor Rankin?
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to say that I'm quite in favor of the 1 to 2 acres. That's great. And I had a question that maybe this is for Darren. It says that when you have your rural residential severed and the rest of the land cannot have any residential dwelling on it, does that mean that the owner cannot come back in the future to ask for a rezoning to put an agricultural commercial business on it?
So I think I've got two answers to that. As of right, on the agricultural portion, they're permitted to have agricultural buildings. So on the retained part without the house, they could build a farm shed, grain bin, new barn anytime. And as for applying for a zoning amendment, anybody from the public can apply for a zoning amendment for their property at any time.
Any other questions or comments on this one? Councillor Hearn?
Just that I'm in support of reducing the size, which is the report that's in front of us. I am getting really tired of seeing them too large, and I just wanted to say that again.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 2B. This is consent application B70-25 for Shill Land Holdings. And again, you have the recommendation in front of you. I'd ask for a mover and a seconder. Councillor McCabe and Councillor Hearn, thank you. Any discussion on this one? Councillor Hearn?
Only reason I asked to have this pulled is I wish they were all like this. So I really in support of this one.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Rankin?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lennox, I was just wondering about the one setback that is only 4.6 meters when they're requiring 18. To me, that doesn't sound very minor. I'm just wondering, I don't know what else they could do with it other than having to take the building down, but I'm just wondering why such a small measure is going to be allowed.
Through you, Mayor Lennox. Well, it's not allowed yet. This application hasn't been heard by Land Division, and they've got to come back for rezoning. But the reason for the proposed setback is it's an existing building and a setback from an existing geothermal system to serving the house. So that's the reason for that setback. And staff don't have concerns with that setback. The applicant will need a building permit to deal with a few things in that existing building to deal with the setback, but it's doable.
Okay. Any other discussion on this one? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 2C. This is the application that we've seen before. B26 25 B26025 for Robert and Louise Horst. And again, you have the recommendation in front of you. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Rankin and Councillor Hearn, thank you. Questions or comments on this one? This is based on the revised sketch that Jeff Buseman was speaking about as well. Any further discussion? Councillor Rankin?
Sorry. Thank you. Am I reading this wrong, or the lot line has been amended, shall we say, but it's still, when it gets merged with the other parcel, still 5.9 acres for a rural residential lot?
Curtis?
Through you, Mayor Lennox, to Councilor Rankin. So, yes, the combined retained and proposed severed portion that's going to be merged is around that size. So if I may, just to briefly explain, the existing lot is very challenging to build on due to constraints, environmental constraints on the property. And my understanding is that's why the applicants sought this lot line adjustment. And numerically, it is a fairly large addition they're proposing. But what they need to do is get outside of the wooded area. And unfortunately, that's agricultural land where they would build. So they need that agricultural portion of the field to build the dwelling. And in the middle is some significant woodlands that wouldn't be a place to develop. So at the end of the day, it is larger, but that's because of the existing lot. And in order to get to the farmer's field that they need to add on to build the house, it is a little larger.
Okay. According to Plan 131 that I was reading, even though you have the wooded lot as part of the property, it still can be considered prime land. So is there any way they could just take the one portion that they want now and have it only as their rural residential lot and make the wooded part that's difficult to build on, leave it as part of the retained parcel?
Through the chair. So there may be Jeff may the applicant, if he may have thought of this, I'm not sure, but offhand, they could apply, I guess, hypothetically, to sever off a portion of that existing the main lot and merge it with back, like a trade basically between the farms. I guess that could be a possibility, but that's what they would have to do, is basically you'd be effectively moving the lot by trading pieces back and forth.
Did you have something further?
Well, I'm just not too sure that I'm accepting 5.9 acres. I appreciate that they had an error and it's reduced to what they thought they had. But it seems to me when we're trying to set a standard that it's quite large, and I really am not in favor of that. I don't know how they were going to go about it unless, as Curtis was saying, they can switch, but I'm not in favor of 5.9 acres.
Okay. I'm not sure that, I mean, there probably could be something more done that would likely add cost to the applicant. And I think in this situation, at least they're not going to be able to develop any further on that larger lot. Sometimes when we have large lots, there's a potential for trying to develop something further, at least in this situation, because of the environmental constraints. That's not going to happen, if that's any consolation. Okay. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 2D. This is just a notice of decision. And the recommendation reads that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive for information report DEV 2025-23 regarding the notice of decision for consent application received from the County of Wellington Planning and Land Division Committee for B35-25 for 1595655 Ontario Limited, and Robert Cattell, part lot 6 East Side Main Street with a civic address of 133 Birmingham Street East and 212 Main Street North in the town of Mount Forest. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor McCabe and Councillor Rankin, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 2E. In regard to site plan agreement, we have a recommendation that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report DEV 2025-24 regarding the final approval of the 2402605 Ontario Limited site plan control agreement for the property at 1 Victoria Street, Mount Forest. Moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Hearn. Any discussion on that one? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 2F. This is regarding the official plan amendments. And there's a link recommendation in your package. Did I get a mover and a second? Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Hearn. Questions, comments? Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, Mayor Lennox. I'm just curious to see, like, for clarification, how this is going to affect any of our council decisions and our residents with this. And then put that to.
Yep. So process wise, what will happen is once the OPA is amended, those regulations will be worked into our planning reports and through our zoning bylaw. We'll catch up, and then they'll just be the background in our staff reports.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, Councillor Rankin?
Thank you. I had a question through you, Mayor Lennox. It would be for Darren. I just had a question about the definition of a bona fide farmer. I did find out the answer, but I thought maybe there's other people out there that don't know.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lennox. So the definition in the document is fairly lengthy, but essentially what it is an OFA, a current OFA card number issued by Agricor or Christian Farmer number or equivalent. Yeah.
So they need to meet the threshold of $7,000 of farm receipts.
Yes, that's right.
In order to qualify for that, either through membership in one of those organizations or exemptions for religious reasons. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll go to 4A. The grants and donations. I'm not going to try to read anything that's on the chart there. We'll be here a while. I'm going to ask for a mover and seconder for this one. Councillor McCabe, seconded by. Oh, you got to set this one out. Seconded by Councillor Hearn. There's a recommendation here, and there's a listing of all the groups that are proposed to be receiving grants and donations. So I know you have some questions or comments, Councillor McCabe, so why don't you take it away?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Lennox. I don't really have any questions, just more comments about. It's funny going through this list and seeing how many organizations and service clubs there are in our community. It's not a very big community, but we've got a lot of service clubs, community resources, anywhere from Get Your Hillbilly On to the Little Black Dress, and then Mount Forest Air Cadets. So happy to see them applying for applications like this, and happy to support them as well. Okay. And I want to thank them for all of their help and services throughout the year as well.
Yeah, our community would be much poorer without all these organizations that make it what it is. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Hearn?
I think there was a request from staff there for some direction around the softball, so just point that out.
Okay. Right. One application. All right. Mandy, can you just make sure that we have the full context of what this is all about?
Absolutely, Mayor Lennox. Thank you. So the community grants and donations, overall, the budget is $40,000. That's what we have allocated for this program. $37,000 is to be used for the fund, and $3,000 for discretionary in-year budget donations. Staff have used a scoring matrix in order to get the number before that you see before you. As it relates to the Arthur softball pitching clinic, where staff are needing a little bit of direction, is the program was updated to allow for private or for-profit businesses rather, to participate, to use our facilities for their programs, such as a day camp program or a soccer program, a baseball program, things like that. This request has come in for a pitching clinic. It is run weekly out of our Arthur facility in the auditorium, and they're requesting the full $1,000. Staff see the benefit of providing this a portion of the waiver of fees in terms that it helps those who participate in the pitching clinic keep the costs down. On the other hand, there is wear and tear on our facility. So by waiving the fee, there's also that consideration. More wear and tear on the facility than what we would see with some other programming happening outdoors, such as a soccer camp outdoors. So this is where staff are just needing a little bit of clarification or direction from council as to if we deem this suitable to waive the fees, and if so, how much would be appropriate. Right now, what we are suggesting is $37,415 in the program. So we are slightly over budget, and reducing our in-year discretionary fund from that $3,000 to around $2,600.
Okay, thank you. Discussion? Any thoughts, Councillor McCabe?
I'm still all right with this, just based on the return of investment that we get from all of the clubs.
So when you say you're okay with it, are you wanting to include that 1,000 in? Or exclude?
I don't know what kind of benefit it would have for volunteer services, but I do understand the idea of what you're saying, Mandy, like reducing the costs and keeping it down. I'm all right with it this year. Maybe look at it at a future date for next year, though.
Okay. Councillor Hearn, you have any thoughts on this one?
My thought is to leave it out.
Okay. So I should split the difference now.
I was gonna say, is Sherry not back in?
Okay, is this something we've supported in the past, Andy?
Thank you, Mayor Lennox, for the question. No, this isn't a program that has been supported in the past. We just updated the program last year to include for-profit organizations. And this is the first application that we're considering as it relates to this individual.
Okay, and if this one does definitely include the for-profit element.
Yes.
Oh, well, then I can switch. I'll switch hit on this one.
Then I think we'll leave it off for this year. I'd like to see us maintain as much as we can of the 3,000 for those in-year circumstances that inevitably crop up.
Okay.
I'm fine with that too, Mayor Lennox. Yeah, for like taking it out.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess I just need to call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to fire third quarter report 5A.
Oh.
Okay. We have a recommendation here that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report fire 2025-007 third quarter report for information. Moved by Councilor McCabe, seconded by Councilor Rankin. See Khalees has come to the podium. Do you want to give us some highlights, Khalees?
Sure. Through you, Mayor Lennox, I can do that. So in terms of our third quarter, so we'll be total stats to date, 228, down from last year. In terms of some project updates that were completed during the summer, we put some new hose into service. Pump testing was completed for all 3 departments.
You'll see later on, or you've already probably read, we received a mental health grant for public safety personnel. We have continued work on implementing our new software program, which is first due. So we've moved all of our property data from Minto, Mapleton, and Wellington North into our new system. Completed training with all municipal staff about burn permits. We've hosted a couple courses over the summer, pump ops and an officer course. We have had some joint station practices at acquired structures across the 3 municipalities. We've done some inspections. We're starting or had started parochial school inspections in September. That's about halfway in terms of the stats. We did some complaints in the summer, mostly just related to neighbors not enjoying the burning of their other neighbors in terms of campfires. We attended all of the summer camps. We hosted some competitions with the fall fairs for people to enter in their entries about creating pumpkins to look like their favorite firefighter and entering in their home escape plan, which was nice because we've seen quite a high number of entries in our categories. We've had car seat clinics. We did the wellness fair, farmers markets, test your smoke alarm day, and fire prevention week, which was related to lithium ion batteries. And we attended the Seniors Connection and Health Fair in Mount Forest, which was overwhelmingly a success for them. There was so many people. We finished the peer support app that we were programming and did some training on that with the intent of launching this fall. And we're doing recruitment. So right now we just did interviews across the board. So Arthur is basically full in terms of firefighters. There's one spot, but we decided to give their recruit class spots to Mount Forest. Mount Forest needs about 3 to 4 firefighters. So we just completed 12 interviews in Mount Forest. So we'll be able to fill our 3 to 4 spots. And next, we're just heading into Santa Claus parade season. So that's kind of it.
Questions from council? Councilor Kate?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. I had asked, I had written down, see how recruitment was going and how many we needed or how many we filled, so sounds like it's a good recruitment response this year then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had I think about 16 or 17 applicants for Mount Forest, narrowed it down to 10 interviews, and we'll get about 3 or 4 new recruits out of that. So.
Oh, that's great to hear. And that's throughout the tri-fire services, like their recruitment is as good as like in Minto, Mapleton, and
Yeah, I would say over the course of the 3 fire departments, we had over 75 applicants.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Those in favor? Carried.
That's okay.
Next one is Community Connect. Okay, with recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report fire 2025-008 and attached presentation for information. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Hearn. Over to you, please.
All right, through you, Mayor Lennox, I guess I'll just go. So in terms of the Community Connect program that's been coming to the municipality, if we think historically about what the purpose of this program is, previously fire services used to hand out stickers that you would put on your house with a number of pets in your house, or you might put stickers on bedroom windows to say that there's kids in this bedroom. Those were historic concepts. That's how we made sure that we kind of tried to collect that information and what we did with it. This program takes all of that sort of guesswork away and makes it digital in the form of a community connection portal where residents can access the portal online and put in all of their critical information. So if we go to the next slide, I like to always include our vision because our vision is to lead in fire and emergency services, and introducing this program into the tri-fire services. I would say we are, top 10, top 20 in Ontario to start this program. So next slide, please. In terms of this presentation, I'm just going to talk about Community Connect, some different use cases that we see people using it for and how we're going to roll it out. And then I do have time for questions if there are questions. So that right there is the home portal for Community Connect. It's its own standalone portal that connects to our First Due RMS, which is our records management system. And the encryption for this is bank level encryption. So if you are comfortable online banking, you'll be comfortable entering in your information into our system. So that is what it looks like. So it does cover all of the 3 municipalities. So we took images from all 3 municipalities and blended them together to make our background. If we go to the next slide, please. So essentially, as mentioned, Community Connect is a resident portal that they can engage with us, the fire department on. There are different profiles that you can create. So you can create a resident profile or a high hazard commercial profile. And the different details that residents can enter are life safety details. So details about your house, including who lives there and how to contact them during an emergency. You can add functional needs or access needs to the registry. So sometimes people will call the fire department and say, hey, I just got oxygen in my house. Do you want to know that information? Historically, we've taken that information over the phone and added it to their property record, but we don't have a direct link between our property records that we store on the computer and in the field. So most of that is either by like binders in trucks or essentially one of us remembering it in our head and saying, hey, that property's got this. There hasn't been a direct link that our firefighters can see information that we collect while they are actually attending incidents. So this, again, will bridge that gap because all of the information that you're entering into your profile comes up as alert tiles when we're responding to the incident so that we know if there's people living in the house that have mobility concerns or let's say that there are pets. You can upload photos of your pets and veterinary contact information if you want to. Next slide, please. The other use for the portal is people can manage their own burn permits and inspection requests and those types of things that they would interact with us on a regular basis through the fire department. So we have a rural request through the portal for a burn permit and burn permit inspection if the burn permit is out of the ordinary. And then we have an urban interface that just shows the burn bylaw and any frequently asked questions regarding campfires because we do not issue burn permits in town. So that is through burn permits. Sorry, next slide, please. The next information that can be added is through our commercial side. So again, you can put details about your business type, and any context. Sometimes we can show up if there's an alarm at a property and not have any contact for that business. So this portal will automatically alert people if the fire department is attending their residence. So if you have a Community Connect portal and you sign up for notification, then every time the fire department comes to your business or your property, you'll get a email or a SMS, which is a short message service, otherwise known as a text message. In terms of the high hazard business side, you can add your access and your utilities. You can add key codes if there are those things, any hazard materials that you have on premise, and any fire protection systems. Next slide, please. There's also a area for you to upload documents and things like fire safety plans, site images. This will be how we connect with our commercial properties that need fire safety plans updating on the regular. So we'll keep all that information on their profile, send them a reminder every year that their fire safety plans need updated and reviewed by us. And then commercial properties can also schedule inspections depending on the type. So complaint is also a type in terms of inspections that if they have a complaint about something, they can add that to their portal. The next slide, please. So that's the data entry part that residents can engage with us about. Another feature of Community Connect is that we can communicate information on the fly, again, via email or text message to people. So we would use this for emergency management. We would use this for events or public education. An example of this would be if we're at a fire and it's in the urban area and there's heavy smoke within a couple blocks, we could send a alert to people in that block specifically to say that you're going to see heavy smoke in this area. We're on scene of a fire, you know, shut your air conditioning or shut your air exchange off, that type of thing. We can also use it for any sort of emergency management. So if there's a flood in the spring, we can notify those that are potentially going to be flooded. You know, winter weather communications, if we are doing any of that, we can use that for that. And residents have the option to sign up for any of those types of notifications that they're interested in. Next slide, please. So what do we do with this info? As mentioned, firefighters will have access to the info that is put on your profile en route to incidents to be able to make better decisions about the response plan. So to go through this and kind of formalize some of those concepts, we've put together some case studies of what we see people using this for. So next slide, we talk about vulnerable populations. All three municipalities have a large population, a large aging demographic within that are staying in their houses for longer periods of time. So the first case study that we have is an elderly resident, Keith. He's 78. He lives alone in his own home. The home is in the flood zone in Hairston, and Keith's two children live an hour away in a different direction, but they are still the primary caregivers of their dad and their dad's property, and they come to check on him every other week. So Keith's son signs up for the Community Connect program and maintains the profile on behalf of his dad. So the son will get alerts as to when the fire department responds to his dad's house, and the son also will get any emergency and evacuation alerts related to flooding at his dad's home. In terms of how else we can use this information, in terms of ongoing community engagement, we can use the data to make public education decisions. So if we see an increase in profiles created as caregivers across the three municipalities, we could host a resource fair for caregivers to provide them with different ideas on how to maintain safety in their loved one's home by partnering with OPP, paramedics, victim services, any of those partner allied agencies, so that we can better support our caregivers, better support that demographic. Next slide, please. So in terms of neurodivergent populations, we have Noah. He's 10. He is an autistic child living in a small town. He is nonverbal. He has sensory sensitivities, especially to loud noises and flashing lights, and becomes overwhelmed by unfamiliar environments or people. His parents worry about how Noah would react during a fire. So Noah's parents create a Community Connect profile. They include key details about Noah, including Noah's diagnosis, communication style, which is currently picture cards, sensory triggers and calming techniques, which could be something like music. Next slide, please. The family uploads a photo of Noah and note his tendency to hide under the green chair in the master bedroom when scared. So firefighters will see this info before arriving on scene. They know to turn their lights off, approach calmly, and what hiding spots are key to look for Noah in. So the impact of this is that Noah is safer and less traumatized during emergencies, and our community becomes more inclusive and proactive in that regard. Next slide, please. So in terms of utilizing the data surrounding neurodivergent populations in order to make better public education decisions, if we see an increase in profiles created with neurodivergent functional needs flagged, we can host sensory-friendly open houses where families like Noah can meet our firefighters, explore trucks, and build trust in a low-stress setting with our firefighters. Another case that we can talk about is farm families. So we have the Thompson family. He operates a mid-sized farm in rural Ontario, raising livestock and growing corn and soybeans. Their property includes multiple outbuildings, fuel storage tanks, and a farmhouse where 3 generations live, including a grandfather with mobility issues. Next slide, please. So in the event of a barn fire, responders can access the Thompson's profile en route. There might be a better entrance than the regular entrance for fire trucks to access, which they would be able to see based on the information collected through Community Connect. Maybe there's a site plan that the farmer can upload, or maybe he just says, don't come in the main driveway, come in the southern driveway. Firefighters will know where animals are housed and how to avoid panic, what chemicals are stored on site, and that their grandfather may need assistance evacuating from the house. So in terms of ongoing community engagement surrounding our agriculture and farm families, if we see an increase in farm profiles showing that farmers are storing a new type of chemical that we've never heard of maybe as a fire department, and it doesn't have and we don't have an extinguishing agent for, maybe water isn't appropriate,
Then the fire department can acquire the right extinguishing method and send notice to all farmers about the importance of extinguishing this particular chemical properly. Sorry, next slide, please. And the last case is to talk about small businesses in the downtowns. So a downtown block includes several small businesses, such as a bakery, a tattoo studio, a tech repair shop, and a yoga studio. Each has its own unique fire risks and occupancy patterns. The owners register their businesses. They include the hours of operation, their hazardous materials, such as inks, solvents, lithium-ion batteries, the number of employees and typical customer volumes, and the emergency contacts and building plans for their businesses. So then firefighters can use this information to prioritize response based on risk level and occupancy of those businesses in the event that that whole block is on fire. All right, so next slide. In terms of community engagement surrounding this, so if a fire were to break out in the bakery's kitchen after hours, responders can access the profile to confirm that no staff are present, locate the gas shutoff valve, and prevent spread to neighboring units. Businesses could use Community Connect to document damage and coordinate with insurers. And we can provide businesses through the notification service on what they should be doing after the fire in terms of guidance. Next slide, please. So what about residents who don't have access to the internet? So previously, we've always been able to accept this information via telephone, and we still can accept this information by telephone if people want to call in and let us know what their needs are in terms of functional or otherwise. We can add it directly to their property. This program just allows a bigger volume of information to come in at a time. And then if we do see that there's a benefit to a certain population group, or we can use paper surveys to get that information and enter it on their behalf. So next slide, please. Next slide. Sorry, I just kind of summarized all of that. Next slide, please. So in terms of how we're going to roll this out, so after we speak to all three councils, we will be starting kind of your traditional marketing of the program using both print assets, online campaigns, news releases. We have print material to be delivered to different businesses, restaurants, those types of things. And then we've also been talking in the community with different partnerships, such as seniors clubs, the Senior Center of Excellence. We're going to be hosting user group meetings in the spring. So essentially, like, we'll have a burn permit user group meeting, which everybody that uses burn permits can come out on board to the program and talk to us about how they can use the program. Similarly, for emergency management, if there are people that are in the flood zones and they come out and onboard onto our system, we can talk to them about the benefits of being in Community Connect and how we would be able to notify them during the flood. And other than that, I don't think I have anything more. Questions?
Go ahead.
Thank you, and through you. Thank you for this, and thanks for the previous report as well. You pretty well answered everything. Just I was going to ask how all three fire departments were going to be hooked up, linked, and how residents would access it. So that's all good. So just at your last point, as you were saying about fire permits. So if I come and get a fire permit from our on-cloud or cloud permit, will that automatically link to this community permit, or?
So in terms of the municipalities, all of the frontline staff that enter in burn permits have access to Community Connect, that they can enter in burn permits to that portal.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Rankin.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lennox. I was just wondering, it's a wonderful report. Thank you very much for both of them. And I really like to see how the vulnerable people are being looked after with your report. I just had one question. The person that's going to be issuing the information to the firefighters as they're en route, is that information coming from the 911 dispatch or coming from one of your firefighters that have access to that information?
Through you, Mayor Lennox. So our systems are connected automatically. So it's not an exchange by a person. It's automatically in the system. So our incident command will have access to the system that people are entering in the information.
I have a question or two myself. So, I mean, we do mutual aid at the periphery in particular,
Yep.
where we might be dealing with other fire departments. They won't have access to this information, correct?
Right.
So to utilize this information, we're relying on some of our firefighters being on scene to do that.
Through you, Mayor Lennox, yes, our incident commander will have access to the information really only, and he can do with it what he needs to. Mhm.
And then the other thing is, I think this is a great tool. When I've been through the environmental farm plan process, they used to promote I forget what they called it, but it was like an emergency tube you were supposed to hang up somewhere in your yard.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
This kind of replaces that, right?
Yep.
Is there a need for them to still have that physical thing on site? And I guess following up on that, is there, because this is relatively new, I assume that an EFP program doesn't recognize this at this stage.
Through you, Mayor Lennox, I don't think that they would recognize it. I mean, there's always redundancies, which are nice to have, so they can certainly keep the tube, but I don't. Yeah.
So you could put site plans and everything into this portal.
Yep.
Interesting. All right, any other questions? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we have another report. Mental health supports for publics. Okay, recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report fire 2025-10 mental health supports for public safety personnel grant for information. Did I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor McCabe, Councilor Rankin, thank you. Did you have anything you wanted to? Did you have anything you wanted to speak to this one?
Through you, Mayor Lennox, I like to bring everything all at once apparently today, but basically this grant is to provide training above and beyond what we currently offer in terms of mental health. So our plan is to train our families about being a resilient family in terms of firefighting as a business, and to train our leadership, which includes captains and district chiefs, on strengthening peer support relationships and how they can empower their crews to be resilient. And then we would like to train the firefighters with a mini training piece about the operational resilience and how to kind of ensure that we can perform under pressure, and how do we kind of mitigate feelings surrounding stressful incidents. So.
Any questions from council? This is a topic that we keep hearing about broadly, and so it's great to have some support to help implement that. So, Chris.
Sorry, if I could just jump in with Deputy Lowe's not saying is she had to build a pretty good big business case to get this grant, because this is through the health secretariat. It's not just a normal grant. And she applied for 32,000 for the 3 departments, and we ended up with 75,000. So that's how good the business case was and how good the proposal was. So I just want to make sure, because Cleese would not say that, but I'm just making sure that got pointed out.
But yeah, thank you for that.
Oh, well done.
Thank you. Now I'm going to turn red, so that's cool.
Okay. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I think that's all the items we had for. So we're on to notice of motion. Any notice of motion today? Okay, we'll move on to community group meeting program report. Does anybody have anything they'd like to report on today?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Councillor Hearn, did you have any?
No, it was just going to be the GRCA, but I already said that. So.
Okay. I would just, since our last meeting, I had the opportunity to go and make a community information presentation to the Arthur Optimist Club. We had some great discussion, and it was delightful to be able to go and interact with them and learn more about what they're talking about as well. So, and stay tuned. There will be more of these coming. Probably not till the new year, but now. With that, we'll move to bylaws. We have a recommendation that bylaw number 69-2025 and 70-2025 be read and passed. Could I get moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Rankin? Any questions or comments on those bylaws? All those in favor? That's carried. Cultural moment.
The Wellington North Cultural Roundtable presents A Cultural Moment, Wellington North Women Who Served. When Canadian women served in both World Wars, it was mostly on the home front, raising money and replacing men whose military service took them away from all types of work. However, for several women from Wellington North, that was not the case. Nursing Sister Alice Cook of Mount Forest gave her life to the service of injured and ill soldiers in a wartime Toronto hospital, dying of influenza at age 25. She was the only woman from Wellington County to die while serving in the First World War. By the Second World War, although women were not allowed to serve in combat, they took on many crucial roles in the various services in both Canada and in Europe. Women of Wellington North were well represented in nearly every branch. Two Raftis sisters from West Luther, Genevieve and Mary, enlisted in the Women's Royal Canadian Naval Service, also known as the Wrens, trained on the HMCS Conestoga and were posted in 1945 to HCMS Stadacona Base, Halifax. There they served as nurses' aides as well as taking on other necessary work. Marjorie Driscoll from Arthur also served in the Wrens, the fourth member of her family to sign up. She had already earned her bachelor's degree at the University of Toronto. Erie Mae Jackson of Caen joined the Canadian Women's Army Corps in 1944. She rose to the rank of sergeant and qualified as a non-commissioned officer. Several women followed their brothers or cousins into service. Pearl Day joined the CWAC, while her four brothers served overseas. Mildred Colwell, who also enlisted in the CWAC in 1942, was the sixth member of her family to serve in the Army. Isabel Mullen joined the Army in the spring of 1942 at the age of 18 and served in the CWAC. She was transferred to England, where she worked as a driver for Canadian Army officers. In some cases, little information is easily available on these resolute women. Claire Connell, for instance, is only briefly noted in the Arthur Enterprise News in 1944 as having joined the RCAF and reporting for 6 weeks of basic training. Many may now be known only to their families or to the keepers of military records. No matter how they have been remembered, these Wellington North women must always be honored for their loyalty and courage in answering their country's call to service. They have set the bar for those women who are currently doing the same.
Excellent one for November. I'll move on to our confirming bylaw. A recommendation that bylaw number 71-2025 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North at its regular meeting held on November 3rd, 2025 be read and passed. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Rankin and Councillor Hearn, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Just draw your attention to the meetings notices. So, of course, the charity bond spiel is coming up on Friday. Remembrance Day, the office will be closed. That's next Tuesday. The Arthur Chamber of Commerce meeting meets at the Community Center upstairs hall on the 12th. And the Cultural Roundtable meets on the 13th in the upstairs hall. And our next regular council meeting is the 17th. So with that, we'll move to adjournment. I have a recommendation that the regular council meeting of November 3rd, 2025 be adjourned at 4:19 p.m. Moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor McCabe. All those in favor? That's carried. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.